Let's go through all the different ways Donald Trump has sought to defend this Ukraine call, starting with maybe my favorite. It was a perfect phone call. I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but it was a perfect phone call. Then we went to, well, yeah, I did mention Biden, but we need to probe Biden. That's the important thing because there's a lot of corruption there. By the way, no details of corruption. Then there was, it was really about other countries paying their fair share as it relates to military aid. Remember, military aid was being withheld. Military aid going to the Ukraine. This is Trump at the UN talking about that.
We want to make sure that country is honest. It's very important to talk about corruption. If you don't talk about corruption, why would you give money to a country that you think is corrupt? One of the reasons the new president got elected is he was going to stop corruption. My complaint has always been, and I'd withhold again, and I'll continue to withhold until such time as Europe and other nations contribute to Ukraine, because they're not doing it. It's the United States. We're putting up the bulk of the money. And I'm asking, why is that?
Right. Okay, let's keep going. The next one, there was no quid pro quo. So yeah, I brought it up, but there was no, if I'll do X if you do Y. He said that in a tweet. No pressure, and unlike Joe Biden and his son, no quid pro quo. I'll note again, because it's important, no evidence that Hunter or Joe Biden did anything illegal in Ukraine. Okay, then we moved over here to spy. Remember, the whistleblower may be a spy. Maybe a spy. Again, big difference between a spy and a whistleblower. Donald Trump apparently didn't differentiate. Then we have Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff helped, this one was amazing to me, Adam Schiff helped co-write the whistleblower complaint. Now that's based on the fact that Adam Schiff found out through a staffer that it was being filed, but he did not co-write it. It's a hoax. Now, I mean, again, this is like asking me to define what a perfect phone call is. What is Donald Trump's definition of a hoax? I have no idea. It's my right. Again, we have a tweet for it's my right. I believe that it's his right to do this stuff. Oh, no, anti-corruption. He's doing this because the world is corrupt. He needs to break through. He should be able to do that because that's a good thing. And we do have a tweet for corruption, I believe. Oh, no, the Joker defense. The Joker defense, which is, he was just kidding. Of course. That's Marco Rubio. He was just kidding. Everyone knows that. China doesn't take him seriously. Does China know that he was just kidding? And then this guy. We call him the fall guy, Brooke. Rick Perry. This guy was the one who told Trump to call the Ukrainian president Volodymyr Zelensky, but it was about energy. It wasn't about the Bidens. But here's the problem with that. We know because they released a transcript that Trump
that they never mentioned
about the Bidens. So what difference does it make what the initial call was? We know that Trump got to what he wanted to get to, the Bidens in Ukraine. So all of this, remember, it's not as though we've been dealing with this Ukraine issue for months and months and months. We've been dealing for 2 weeks. This is all in 2 weeks, all of these explanations. Trust me, there's about 50 more tweets that go with all this stuff too. It's just wild, and it speaks to the fact he's just throwing stuff against the wall in hopes something sticks.
This breaking news just into CNN, and it's significant as regards the president. A federal judge has dismissed the lawsuit brought by Trump in an effort to block a subpoena issued by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for 8 years of the president's tax returns. And we were just learning an attorney for President Trump has already quickly filed an emergency appeal. The judge in this case, I mean, his language is scathing here. He calls Trump's argument a categorical and limitless assertion of the president's presidential immunity here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And let's go back a little bit just to give some context here. Let's remember now what happened is this is a back and forth between the Manhattan DA's office and the Trump org and the president himself for quite a while now. And essentially what they are wanting was 8 years of tax returns because they believe there was some business practices that were not legal during those hush money payments prior to the campaign, right? So we've been going back and forth with these two sides for a long time.
Specific to the Stormy Daniels payments.
Exactly.
Okay.
And essentially what happened here is the president argued while they were trying to get those tax returns, which many people have been wanting to see, that he can't be subjected to any criminality. He can't be under investigation while he is a sitting president. And as you just read, the federal judge says, well, that's not really the case. And he was very strong in his language. It was a very long actual comments as to why they believe that. But let me read it again. He basically said categorical and limitless assertion of presidential immunity that wrote would constitute an overreach of executive power, essentially saying your argument isn't strong enough, and essentially they can go forward with this lawsuit that the Manhattan DA's office filed.
Okay, so they've gone forward. president's team has already filed
Yes.
an emergency appeal. I suppose we see where that goes. Are they likely to be granted an appeal here?
It's not really clear at this moment, but let's also remember that this went so far as to the president's own Department of Justice got involved just last week, saying that they wanted to have some sort of skin in this game and have an opinion about what was going on between these two sides. So it's almost like what's going to happen next, because things are happening that we haven't seen before. But this is a big ruling by this federal judge.
It's a big loss. Okay, Bryn Gingras, thanks very much. Certainly a story we're going to stay on top of.
We begin with some exclusive breaking news. President Trump, I am told, raised the prospect of a pardon to a top official if this official broke immigration laws. Senior administration officials tell me that during the president's visit to the border at Calexico, California, 1 week ago today, he told border agents to block asylum seekers from entering the U.S., which is contrary to U.S. law. We brought you that story earlier in this week, but now we're telling you that the president then went even further. Two officials briefed on the exchange say the president told Kevin McAleenan, then head of Customs and Border Protection, now the acting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, that he, the president, would pardon McAleenan if McAleenan ever went to jail for denying entry to migrants, as one of the officials paraphrased. It was not clear if the president was joking or was serious. I asked the White House for a comment. They referred me to the Department of Homeland Security. A DHS spokesman told me the president has never directed the acting secretary to do anything illegal. President Trump's apparent lack of commitment to staying within the bounds of immigration law has been a constant theme in recent weeks. In fact, we also have some additional breaking news on the proposal President Trump has now confirmed he's considering transporting undocumented immigrants and releasing them in sanctuary cities, places which limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. The president tweeted earlier today, quote, "We are indeed, as reported, giving strong considerations to placing illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities. Only the radical left always seems to have an open border, open arms policy, so this should make them very happy," unquote. Breaking right now on CNN, even though President Trump is pushing this today, administration lawyers told the White House months ago there are serious legal problems with this proposal. In February, according to documents I obtained, DHS General Counsel John Mitnick told the White House in writing that transporting and releasing migrants far from where they were apprehended could only happen if there were a, quote, strong mission-related rationale, unquote, such as providing medical care for the migrants or overcrowding at a facility. That rationale does not include political retribution or trying to make a political point, which is what the president made clear in his tweet is his rationale. The general counsel, Mr. Mitnick, also noted that this proposal could be self-defeating, that transporting an undocumented immigrant to a place where he or she has no ties could increase the chances that that individual would become a flight risk and skip deportation proceedings. Another warning to the White House from General Counsel Mitnick: do this and there will be lots of lawsuits, because this would violate, theoretically, the due process rights of the migrants, or at least that would be the charge. One senior administration official told me that, quote, once the lawyers explained it, the issue was ultimately dropped, unquote, back in February. Until today, of course, when President Trump just tweeted it out.